Okay, so we're gonna get started. There's just a little seat. So if you're on the ground and you want a little cushion, you can grab one and sit however you'd like. Today I'm kind of feeling like sitting on my heels. And we'll just have our hands face up or down on our thighs, sitting up nice and tall, just to ground ourselves from whatever your day brought you, and just come together collectively as a community as well. So once you sit up nice and tall, you're welcome to close your eyes if that feels safe and comfortable. Otherwise, if it doesn't, you can look at the bridge of your nose with your eyes half closed. Okay? And just allow yourself to feel the weight of the sit bones rooting into the earth. And also being very aware of how much the earth is actually coming up to meet you and to support you. And that kind of symbiotic relationship between your weight down and the sensation of the earth coming up to you. And take 3 breaths into that feeling. It's important as we move through our yin practice that we are aware of all parts of ourselves, not just the physical sensation, but our emotional and mental states that are deeply tied in to each other. And so I offer you to bring a sankalpa, an intention forward for your practice, help focus your mind in times of distraction or wandering. I always recommend for an intention to bring it in a way that is present and in this moment essentially. So saying something like I am, and then fill in the blank with something you wish to embody or connect to. So it could be I am calm, or I am supported, or I am safe, depending on the kinds of emotions or what you're working with right now. Go ahead for 3 breaths and say it repeatedly in your own mind. And promise yourself to be gentle and kind as we move through this practice, opening your eyes. Now, you're welcome to stay seated as you are, or you can shift yourself a little bit if your knees are bothering you or your ankles or anything like that. Okay. You're going to go ahead and inhale, reach our arms up overhead, big stretch through the top of our head to the ceiling, and then exhale your left arm down, so I'm not mirroring you, and your right arm over. I'm just bending my elbow because I have the mic there, but you can stretch the arm right over your head. Root down your right hip, so you're constantly feeling the connection to the earth. So we want to find support for our sleep. Often we need to bring ourselves out of our mind, out of our head, and very deeply into our body, especially down through our roots. So feeling that earthly connection through the right hip, sit bone, expanding lightness up to your right fingertips. Okay, one more deep breath into your right ribs. And come back up, arms can reach the sky again. We'll do the other side. Right arm drops down and left arm comes over. Okay, getting some weight into that left hip. Draw the lower ribs back just a little bit, just enough that we're not kind of compensating by back bending into the mid-back. And then your gaze can be where it is ever comfortable for you. Taking a few expansive breaths through your left ribs, almost right into that left armpit. Let's come back up. You can shift off of your cushion. If your knees are sensitive on the ground, this is where a little bit of a blanket would come in handy under your knees. And we're welcome to have a cushion or nothing in front of us. Okay, it's going to depend. We're going to have our hands placed face down, right under our shoulders, knees under our hips. Take a full breath in, dip your belly, lift your heart and gaze, looking up, chin lifts. And then exhale, curl your toes, curl your spine to the ceiling, tuck your chin and look at your knees. Be very gentle as the head weighs down and in. Okay, inhale, we'll reverse. Dip your belly, lift your heart, engage. You can even pull your hands a little towards your knees, like a scrubbing sensation, and then exhale, curl toes back and chin in. Just do one more on your own breath. It just allows us to kind of come from the activity of our day in a little bit more of a soft way to transition to some of these longer holds we'll have. Okay, back to neutral spine. Reach your hands out to the edges of your mat. Okay, fairly wide, some of us wider if we're finding our shoulders are sensitive, and walk your knees back just a little bit. We're going to shift our hips back, but they're still in the air, and softly sink your heart down towards the floor. Your forehead could go to a couple blocks, a cushion, or books. Okay. We're going to do our best to soften that heart forward and down. And if you've been on the computer all day, you might want to go a little bit wider with your hands so that it's not quite as intense to the front of the heart that may have had a lot of compression through your day sitting in a chair. Toes can be flat or curled under, it's up to you. And just notice how you're feeling in this first posture. We're not going to be here for too long. We're going to build up to the longer holds. This is also known as puppy dog or melting heart. And if there's any sensitivity where this is too much pressure on your spine, you can go right into child's pose, any variation. Which looks something like this if we're unfamiliar. About 30 more seconds here, approximately 4 or 5 breaths. Okay, you can shift into child's pose for a momentary breath. We're already in child's pose, just take one more breath. So hips go back, forehead to a block, book, or the ground, and arms can be a little softer now. Hips may be on the heels or floating off the heels are fine. From our child's pose, let's walk our hands over to the left side of our mat, lift our heart a little, and even move our whole chest and belly kind of more towards our left thigh. We can bend the left elbow, reach out to the right hand, and extend our right arm up and over our head on the ground, and then bring our head either to our forearm of our left arm, and we'll bend that left elbow, back up a little bit, and stretch out to the right arm so we get a nice big stretch to the right side body. We could have a block or cushion under our head. Knees can be as wide or together as you'd like. So a big side stretch, okay, to the left, stretching to the right side. And since breath is intrinsically connected to our emotional and mental state, it actually, when you shift your breath, you can change the quality of your memory. You can change the quality of your emotional balanced state as well. So these last 3 breaths, see if you can do maybe a 4 count inhale and 4 count exhale. And then let's switch sides. If we need a little in between, you could do a cat-cow, maybe 1 or 2 rounds. If you want to just take the pressure off your knees, and then switch to the other side. Okay, so we walk our hands over to the right. We kind of get the belly up a little closer to the inner right thigh, and as we reach to the left hand, our right hand could be under our head or forearm under our head, or we could have a cushion or a block. If it's a lot for your hips, we could put a couple blankets under our bum between the heels and the bum, or we could put a cushion there for more support, right in between the calves and the underside of the thighs, the hamstrings. We'll be here for about a minute. So you can re-engage that kind of quality conscious breathing. It's 4 in, 4 out. Finding your own kind of rhythm of conscious awareness. Tongue is soft, jaws relaxed. Remember your sankalpa, our intention, breathing it in and out. Okay, let's come back to center. Up at the tabletop, hands and knees. Okay, give yourself maybe a couple hip circles. So it's just like you're drawing a circle forward and back with your hips. Okay. One direction and then eventually the other. Just see how those legs are feeling. And from our hands and knees, I'm going to step our right foot forward in between our hands. We might have to have our right hand help us there. And we're going to walk that left knee back. Okay, it's nice to have the knee relatively over our ankle, but since there's not a lot of weight, like it's an active lunge, it's okay if it goes a little beyond. Okay, if our hands are kind of far away from the ground, this is where our blocks or our cushions can come in handy to give us a little extra support. And this is not a long hold, but it will eventually shift us into some longer holds. If this is just a lot for you today and we need a little bit more sensitivity, we could lift up and have a lot more control on that front hip. So a little more active, but more control might mean safer for you. And if the back knee is bothered, we put a cushion or blanket under there, yeah? And because the hips are notorious for holding all kinds of stress, especially safety and fear-based actions, stuff like that, it's good to find a point of focus for any hip openers like this one. So for me, I might look forward at my curtains and find a spot and try to make it very fascinating to myself. And then as I focus on that spot, try to do my 4 in, 4 out breaths. Okay, we're almost already halfway through. Shoulders are relaxed. Tongue is soft. Okay, let's bring our hands down if they're not already there. And we're going to walk our right foot over to our left hand, slide the left heel back, and we're going to bring our right knee down. Okay, sorry, that was the right heel back. We're going to walk our left leg back again. Okay, I'm just going to go forward so you can see me. And settle our hips. This is Pigeon. You can place books or a block under your right hip, so the other side. Or, for some of us, we're going to do really well actually under the left. So it levels out our pelvis so we don't roll into our side body. I'll show you from the front. So you can't see my knee, but you can see my hips. So some of us will roll. So I can put it there under my right hip or under the front of my left thigh. Okay. The variation for this, if it's not going to fly for you, is you can lay on your back, place your right ankle on your left thigh, and either stay here pressing the right leg away from you, or you can interlace the fingers on the back of the left thigh for thread the needle. Left leg's relaxed. Shoulders are relaxed, focusing on the stretch in the outer right hip. Okay. You can stay lifted, or we can come down towards the floor, maybe on our forearms, or like you're watching TV, hands under your chin. You know, like we did maybe when you were a kid, you did that. Or we can, again, make it a little more restorative with cushions under our chest and lay fully down. You're going to be here for about 3 minutes. This is our first longest hold. I find that hip openers, personally, are the ones that I get the most distracted in the fastest. So if that happens to you, use the quality of your breathing. So maybe the 4 counts in consciously, 4 counts out. Finding this very nice rhythm and kind of union with your awareness and consistency of your breathing. You are aware of the major sensations in the body. However, you are also aware of all the places that are very light, free, neutral, or spacious. So mine tends to go towards big or sometimes what we may consider uncomfortable sensation first. We want to train the brain to see everything, connect to everything. Sometimes unknowingly, the body will be holding ourselves in place. So you can use the next 3 exhales to visually see and feel you melting closer to the floor. And getting some of the body parts that might still be quite engaged, like maybe the thigh, the left thigh is a little too engaged, holding you in place, starts to kind of let go of its need to do any work. And we're almost there, last 30 seconds or so. So if the mind drifted, let's bring it wholeheartedly back into the sensation we're experiencing, wherever you might be in this variation. And you're going to take your hands, plant them down, press yourself up towards a vertical spine. Curl your back toes under, and listen carefully. You can actually come forward. You're going to walk your back leg forward. It takes the pressure off your hips really nicely. And we'll bring our right leg back. You can do those hip circles again if you'd like. We just did like you're drawing a circle on the ground with your pelvis. Or we could do child's pose for a moment, if we'd like, or cat-cow. If you're a fan of doing like a little windshield wiper movement, we'd sit on our bum, hands for support behind, and we do some little rocking of our knees from side to side. Be slow when we do these movements and transitions. Often how fast you move in your transitions is how fast your mind is really moving. Okay, we're going to do the other side. So we're going to start with our lunge. So from your hands and knees, you can step your left foot forward. Okay. And we can stay lifted like so, especially if we're a bit sensitive. That back knee is right under our right hip, and maybe a cushion under there. Okay. The opportunity here is to walk our right leg back a little bit more. Oops. Very bright out today. And hands could be on the ground, could be on a block or books. And we want to feel ourselves softening the pelvis forward and down with as much support, but as little control. I know it sounds counter-indicative, but there is that kind of symbiotic relationship we're trying to create here in our yin, where there's about 60% sensation and about 40% comfort. For some of us, 50-50 is better. So again, with hips, we want to find a point of focus to look on, whether it's a fascinating point on the ground to try and keep ourselves engaged in the moment or looking ahead. We'll be here just under a minute. And the shoulders will tend to want to get involved here, as in up at our ears. So we want to soften them back, which may require us to move our hands back a little bit. Same thing with our core. We want to breathe down and deep into kind of the pelvic bowl, especially on that right side. Okay, we're going to shift our pelvis back, our hands down, if they were up. I'm going to slide that left heel back a bit, over to the right hand, and then keep sliding it in towards our right knee to bring our shin down on an angle forward to the top end of our mat, and walk the right leg back a little bit. I've done this posture a few times in my life already, so I can be comfortably on the ground at this point. However, there was a time when I was really high, and I would use any level of block to offer some kind of comfort, especially if this is your holding area for your stress. Better to be softer so that you can really, truly relax in the posture than to try and push through a lot of sensation. Okay? So if you might have noticed, I put this on an angle. This could also be a pillow. We can stay lifted or come down to our forearms. However, that does tend to create a little tension through the mid-back and the neck. So a couple of extra pillows under the heart to meet you, or just staying lifted is a little easier on the neck. We're here for about 3 minutes. Okay. So once you've found your place of comfort, the option here is thread the needle on the back. Then start to engage your breathing. So there's your option. Left ankle, right thigh, staying here, or bringing the hands to the shin or back of the thigh. Shoulders are really relaxed. So if I'm at the shin and I'm going to stretch up, it's a lot of tension on the neck, so let's not do that. So 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Wherever you are. Tongue is soft, off the roof of our mouth. And unclenched any tension in the teeth, like clamping down. Now our hip area in traditional yoga is our root chakra area. It's like our foundation of our life. It has to do with like family, like interpersonal relationships within family, like your very first connection or building of relationships when we first get to this, our soul gets to this place. That's the first foundation. That's what we first learn how to do before we do interpersonal relationships or anything like that. So when our safety is threatened or security is threatened, like has been done in, this unusual time, this area can take on a lot of that stress because it's trying to like kind of lock us in and hold us in, some kind of control and safety. So using these next few exhales to really focus on maybe the pelvic floor, so space in between the legs, like the upper inner thighs, and right around the tailbone area. Using the exhales like a wave through that area to pull any stress or tension out and maybe down through that back foot or right into the earth. We have a minute left. Last deep breath in, pulling the mind back to the body if you drifted. And as we plant our hands to the floor to lift our heart slowly, we'll walk our back foot forward. If you're on your back, you can release your feet and roll to one side to come up and move back into our tabletop with the option of the hip circles or maybe some cat-cows, child's pose, or the windshield wipering of our legs. We should be sitting on it while I'm doing that. Just a short little rebound allows us to let the body adjust to the long hold, long stretch. And it gives us the opportunity to reflect if anything kind of came up as we moved out of the posture. Let's come to a seated position, if you're not already there. Bring our feet together and open our knees wide for cobblers. Also known as butterfly and in. Now in this position, for some of us, if we sit a lot, the inner thighs are going to be really, really tight. Some of us, in this one, our bone structure simply will never allow our knees to go to the floor. That's something that I just loved that I learned about early on in the anatomy pieces of my trainings, is that structurally your hip socket, the acetabulum, is uniquely built to you. Some of us might have a hip that has way more rotational ability than the other one. They'll never be even. I actually have a friend like that, structurally in her bones. She just can't do the same thing on both sides. So with this one, it's very important that our pelvis is somewhat vertical, okay? And that we're not leaning way back. So sitting on a cushion is something I highly recommend. Doesn't mean you're bad at the posture or can't do it. You're just making the space required to really get the most out of this posture. Okay. The other option is blocks under your knees or cushion under your knees. And you can stay like this in a very long diamond or a very squished diamond. Squished diamond doesn't do anything for me, so I usually go in the middle. You can stay lifted if this already feels like a lot of sensation, or we can lean forward with our hands on the ground, chin gently tucked. If we're very close to the ground, we could have a block between our feet and our head. And if you're like super mobile in this one, you can put the block under your feet and fold forward from there. So for me, this is a really flexible area, so that's something I might do. It's not necessary. Okay, let's hold for a few minutes. Find your place of about 60% sensations. Don't go beyond that. I'm talking to you, all my A types out there. I can say that because I'm one of them. Less is more. Okay. 4 count inhale, 4 count exhale. Find your folds, and we'll hold. You drifted off in your mind. Deep breath through your lower back, mid-side ribs, and space between your shoulder blades. Remember your sankalpa, your intention. Re-embody that for the next few breaths. Every breath in, you say I am, and then whatever you're filling the gap with, and every exhale, you say it again. Gently and very slowly, much slower than you want to go, start to rise. Watching we are breathing still, not holding our breath as we come up. I recommend once you're up, no rush, keep your spine tall, hands on your shins or knees, and simply be tall for 3 breaths, letting the body adjust. Eyes could be closed if you like. And then with our hands, one hand at a time, bring the knees into center, one leg at a time. Feet hip distance apart. And you can give yourself like a little snuggle, a little rounding forward with the hands around the shins or grasping each other. And the other option is the windshield wiper back and forth with our knees. You may even feel like you're hanging out to one side for a moment. Okay. So let's go ahead and keep seated on our bum. I still want that cushion under you for sure for this next one. If you have any props, you're going to want to gather all the props. So we've kind of been working a little bit towards this one. I have a love-hate relationship with this one. It just seems to depend on, the patterns in my body. This one's called Fire Log, so I'm going to give you quite a few options very quickly so I don't take up too much of your time. So Fire Log traditionally is we're going to have our left shin down. For you on Instagram, I believe it's going to look like my right shin, but I'm not mirroring you. If you're on Facebook, I believe you will see the actual like down. Okay, and we're going to put it horizontal to the front of our mat. Now this already might be a lot, so cushion or block under the knee. And we're going to place our right foot on top of our left knee. And again, for some of us, it might look something like this. We might just stay lifted and hold here, a little more active. Yeah. Okay. If you've got the stack, you might look something like this, where your shins are on top of one another, and we might have a cushion or a block under that right knee. This could be a good place. For those of us where this rotation is really big rotation, we could bring our left heel in closer to our bum, and we can put our right foot in front. So it's more like a cross-legged seated position. But I don't have my ankles crossed like this. It's one foot in front of the other, so it's a wider base. Blocks and cushions could go under the knees to help support, and then you would fold forward from there. Some of us, much more accessible. For others, we can do the double stack with any adjustments as we need. So my left heel in, maybe the block under there, and I'm like, oh, this is okay. This is comfortable. Perhaps more blocks under here, right? Accessibility is really important in the end, because if I put you in a posture or you put yourself in a posture and it's brutally uncomfortable, you're not going to relax. It's just not going to happen. Okay. Now, if none of those variations really worked for you, just put in a little note in the box. For those of you watching this recording, my apologies. That's not on the Instagram live. Okay, from here we can just stay lifted. This is a lot of rotation. This is a very big posture. And something I've learned with the hips is that sometimes you really don't know how deep you've gone until you've been in it and you start to move out of it and you're like, uh-oh. So be very kind. If you wish to fold forward, it's accessible to your practice, then you can. Okay. So choose your place. Less is more. Find a neutral space for your chin, meaning you're not lifting and jutting it forward. Find a point of focus for your eyes or close them. I'm going to stay here for about 3 minutes. Deep breaths to your back all the way down into the sensations. Take a little check on all the little parts of the body that may unknowingly be holding on in order to, like, your body tries to help you. So, what are your fingers? What are your toes doing? Your ankles? Your shoulders? Your jaw? Your tongue? And your space between your eyebrows, if there's any frowning or scrunching. And can we just bit by bit let all those pieces let go of helping us, of trying to hold us in place? We meet each emotion or thought with kindness. That can look like a simple breath in and out, even if there's a lot of discomfort. It can look like the patience of staying in the posture when you don't really feel like being in it anymore. Let's plant our hands down, but take your time, especially this is such a deep posture. Really move super gentle, and I even pause sometimes just to make sure that the body is moving with me. I'm not moving too fast for the depth that I may unknowingly have been in. You can't always feel everything, right? And once you're tall, reconnect the mind to the feeling of the sit bones on the earth. I'm going to do very gentle twists, left hand to the right thigh anywhere, right hand behind you. Okay, 3 deep breaths. Twisting a little more on your exhale. Not with your hands, but a little bit with your core. Let's gently move back to center with our hands and our heart. Lean back onto your hands. Then lift your right knee. Slide it forward, leg straightens, and then the left. And then we can do softness in our little bouncing of our knees while consciously breathing. Or we could be still for a moment, or a little windshield wiper of our ankles. You can kind of see my toes there. Yeah. Here you bend your knees, one windshield wiper. You're still good. Hips are still alive, still there. And we'll do the other side. So it'll be the right foot comes down. And this is, you're going to start to really see those differences in the rotational ability of your hips. Could be structural, like bones. Could be just flexibility. So right shin is parallel to the front of the mat, or you can tuck the heel in towards the groin. Okay? And even there, see how that hips feels. If it already is like, put the block under, cushion right away. Book, what do we got? Okay? And then we're going to place the left ankle on top. Now this side, you may have noticed, is actually more open externally for me on the left here. Okay. The other variations that I showed is the right heel to the groin, the left heel in front, and then fold forward from here. And I'm still sitting on my cushion. Yeah. And the more support you have, the less external rotation, the more ability you'll likely have to fold forward. There's no goal in that sense. It's just your bone structure. You got to accommodate yourself. Yeah? And how often do we not do that in our daily lives? Accommodate ourselves, right? We just do whatever society or other people or our jobs or bosses or whatever say to us. And we kind of forget ourselves and what our needs are, what our specific individual needs are. Okay, so accommodate yourself and then choose to stay lifted or fold forward. Now, even though I can get both knees nicely stacked when I fold forward, I actually can't go very far. This side. And that changes, day to day, moment to moment. Actually need a block today on this side. Yep. So there you go. That's a perfect example. Find a point for your eyes. Neutralize cervical spine, your neck, so the chin is neutral. Shoulders are soft. Re-engage the rhythmic breathing, maybe the 4 in, 4 out count. That's the meditative part of this. That's what's binding your awareness and your ability to reconnect the mind, the emotions, and the body relationship, and be able to have a deeper sense of the sensations within your body, the connection between the emotional state of the mind and your body. All this kind of subtle things that go on within us that if we don't build this awareness, we'll never be able to sense it. So the breath is kind of your binding agent. So 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Keeping the jaw, shoulders, fingers, toes, and tongue relaxed. Mind will shift, so we have to bring it back with our attentive breath. And depending on what we hold in our body tries to take on for us to manage stress in the moments that we didn't maybe have the tools to manage it emotionally or mentally. Each side of the body can carry different things, so each side of a posture can have a different level of attention or ability to stay less distracted. So in our last few moments here, let's see how present we can be with the sensations of freedom in the body as well as discomfort. use your hands, and we do this very slowly. Like I mentioned earlier, often how fast you transition is how fast your mind is moving. So if we slow the body, the mind has no choice but to accommodate. And as we rise up nice and slow, once you're at that tall point, okay, we're nice and tall. We'll twist the other direction. Right hand, left thigh, left arm behind. Guess that side needed extra. I think I doubled up on my side, but that's okay. Obviously needed it. And last deep breath in, twisting on your exhale, a little bit further from the navel region. As we move back to center, hands behind us to release the legs softly forward. Big stretch, little wiggle side to side, or a little bouncing of our knees. And then come to lay on your back, making sure all your props are accessible beside you. And as you lay down, bear with me. As you lay down, feet on the floor, connected to the earth, realign that awareness to how that feels, the earth beneath you. And check in with your sankalpa again, the I am statement for a single breath. Okay, let's shift our hips over to the right side of our mat. So just my bum is moving, not my shoulders, so keep them rooted. Okay, we're going to lengthen out our left leg. And you're going to place your right foot to the inside of the left leg. Ideally on the thigh somewhere, okay, so you feel that connection. Then we're going to take our left hand to our right thigh and encourage our right leg to twist to the left. Perhaps a cushion or block underneath our floating right knee, and the right foot is still the inside of the left leg, and the right arm can come out if you have the space, and we could gaze towards our right hand. A nice soft twist. Focus on kind of puffing the lower belly, so lower diaphragmatic breath, breathing into the lower part of your belly or pelvic bowl. And on the exhale, you might be able to soften the right rib cage, shoulder down towards the ground. The last little piece of this twist, if you'd like, you'll bend your left knee, so the left heel comes towards your bum. And for some of us that have pretty long limbs, you might grab your foot with your right hand, your left foot. It's called, what's it called? Cat ponytail, yeah. It's not necessary though, you could just bend the knee and have the arm out. Okay, 5 more deep breaths. This one's really good to do when you're actually in your bed. Just lay in a twist with like an extra pillow between your knees. So nice. If you have the grip of your foot, you're going to let it go, straightening out your left leg, and come back to center, root your feet, take a breath, head to neutral, hands where comfortable. We'll do the other side. We'll shift our hips, just our bum, not our shoulders. to the left. Straighten out your right leg. Place your left foot to the inside of the right leg if possible. No big deal if it's not. And then we'll twist now to the right side. Right hand on the left thigh. You might have to adjust your shoulders like I just did, so that the spine is more in line. And then we can extend the left arm out and look to the left if you'd like. And then you can now kind of relax your left foot to the inside of the right leg. We don't need to necessarily press down or hold it there. Now you kind of know where we're going. If you want to go right into cat ponytail, you can, bending your right knee, grabbing the right foot with your left hand. But we want to be mindful that that left shoulder is still rooted. It's not popping up to try and grab the foot. Okay? That just creates more tension. Again, it's not necessary. Taking a few moments to let the spine release from a lot of those hip openers and forward fold we just did. Breathe into your belly. Let the exhale soften your left chest down and away from your right side body. Releasing your right foot if you have the grip, straightening the right leg, coming back to center, rooting your feet. Hands where it's comfortable, head to neutral. Take a breath. In our last posture, if you do have some cushions, or if you're by a wall, so I'll give two variations. If you have cushions, okay, you're going to put it under your heels. If your knees are too sensitive, you can put it under your calves. Okay? But if you put it under the heels, there's just this slight elevation, which is really nice for Shavasana. If you have a wall right beside you, turn yourself towards that wall and put your legs up the wall. Okay, I'm not doing the full turn because I'm just demonstrating what it kind of looks like. And that can be your final position if you'd like. This is like the ultimate posture for deep sleep. The legs up the wall. So if you don't have a wall nearby, don't worry about it. You could do it in bed later. But for now, you can do it this way or feet on the cushion. Okay, for your Shavasana, relax the shoulders down. Palms face up, ankles soften away from one another. And lift your head, tuck your chin, keep it tucked, place the head back down, and then completely relax. And re-engage your 4-count inhale and 4-count exhale. And I'd like you to try and mainly focus on when you breathe in, you say your sankalpa to your I am, ... When you breathe out, anything that you feel like is in your way from that cultivation in your life breathes out of you. So the inhale is the cultivation, I am, and in this one, the exhale is the release of barriers or things that you feel like might be in your way from that cultivation in your life. Please stay here as long as you'd like. I'd encourage maybe another 5 minutes if you can. Thank you so much for joining us today.